Hello and welcome to another episode of the Person Behind the Profile series. Tonight I have with me Ahmad Imam. How are you?
I'm doing brilliant. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I was so excited to bring you on because you are just such a prolific user of LinkedIn. I know we've shared the stage a few times before on different LinkedIn panels way back when we could do some live events and everything together.
The good old days, right?
Exactly. So I was super keen because, these episodes are all really designed for people to get to know the person behind the profile. And so I think, we see a lot of you on LinkedIn from your content and everything that you kind of share. But I think it'd be really cool to dive into a little bit of your journey and then share a few little nuggets and wisdom for the audience here today. So if you are joining us, please let us know where you're coming in from. We would love to hear from you. Drop us a comment. Let us know where you're coming in from. If you are watching the replay, pop in #replay in the comments so I know that too. And if you have any questions for us as we're going, feel free to type them in as well. So Ahmed, you are the ambassador and host for Success Resources. You also have almost 1 million followers on LinkedIn, which is no small feat. And you were actually voted as well one of the top 10 influential people of 2021, which is an awesome achievement. So tell us a little bit about yourself and who is Ahmed? Who is the person behind the profile?
Thank you for the lovely introduction. Really appreciate that.
You're so welcome.
LinkedIn has been a hell of a journey. It's been incredible, and I'm not overstating anything by saying LinkedIn is responsible for a lot of the opportunities that have come my way, and just using it correctly. And a lot of the things that you talk about, Amy, it works. You know, when you implement it, it works. It works really well. So look, I am a family man first and foremost. I have a wife that inspires me every day. I've got 2 kids. I've got a 5-year-old daughter, and I have a 18-year-old stepdaughter who's currently going through year 12 and a high school certificate. So that's a balance in itself. I am someone that loves creativity and loves being creative. So my genius, as in, whatever it is that I do that allows me to have a lot more energy and excitement and happiness, revolves around creativity. So it could be presenting, hosting, content creation, speaking, just anything that allows me to really just give more of me, and be a bit more creative is something that I love to do. So that has extended itself into content creation. It's extended itself into social media. And I love creating content. I love connecting with people through content. And it's been very, very surreal as to what I've been able to achieve. It almost hasn't kicked in for me, but I'm very, very blessed to have a very large community. And I get to do what I enjoy every day. So there was a long period of time where I couldn't have said that. So.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant, and we see that creativity come out in you and a lot of your content as well. You're always someone that I love to see popping up on the news feed as well. Always, putting out some really engaging and valuable content for people out there as well, which is awesome. And I think I totally agree with you when it comes to LinkedIn and some of the opportunities that really do present themselves when you show up like you do on the platform as well. And so I'd love to sort of hear a little bit about, where it all sort of started for you in the beginning. Like, firstly, why LinkedIn and how did it sort of lead to the journey that you're on at the moment? And just before you get into that, we've got a few people joining us. We've got Sam joining us. We've got Mahidul. Welcome. We've got Abdul. Welcome, everyone. Great to have you here. So how did it all get started? Like, why did you decide that it was time to sort of put yourself out there on a platform like LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn's a bit of an odd choice. and when I speak to people that are more active on, let's say, the Instagrams or Facebooks, it's usually a question that pops up. LinkedIn is probably one of the most underrated platforms, social media platforms. And of course, I don't need to tell you that, Amy.
I used to always call it the ugly duckling of social media. I still call it the ugly duckling. But we love the ugly duckling.
We do. It's like the ugly sister or the ugly brother that gets ignored. But I mean, look what happened to Cinderella, right? So
yeah. We've got Diana joining us as well, Diana Nguyen, who's always on the LinkedIn platform as well. Welcome, Diana. Great to have you here.
Diana, great to see you. It is seriously underrated, and it's underrated because of the real world opportunities that can come your way when it's done correctly. Now, I didn't know that when I started, so I started it because I was hearing a little bit of buzz about it, but I thought I'd give it a shot. And I had no idea what creating content meant. I did a lot of research on the platform. I was observing people that were doing really well in terms of engagement, in terms of building a community. And I tried to do something similar. And so it all started with me putting out my first video. And you and I, Amy, have a similar experience in terms of our first videos. It's always overwhelming. It's a little bit scary. You're always nervous because you have no idea whether people are going to judge you or how you're going to come across. And I went through the same thing. So, I mean, I picked up my phone, I held it horizontally, I pressed record, and I just started speaking my truth. And it took me 1 hour to record a 47-second video. And I like to say that to give people the right expectations. Because I mean, if you see me now on video, or someone sees yourself, Amy, we might come across very polished and professional. It doesn't always start that way.
No, it doesn't.
So for me, I was nervous. I had to record myself over and over and over until I thought, this is really what I want to put out.
Yeah.
And that's why it took me an hour to record that first video. But that's where it starts. And everybody starts that way. And so for me, it was a lot of experimenting to find out where I can add value the most, and to find out what people resonated with. And I found that I had a bit of a skill set in video, in creating video and presenting well on video and being confident on video. And so with that, I decided to do a lot more riskier things. I started to put out a lot more content that you wouldn't ordinarily see on LinkedIn.
I remember when I first came across you, Ahmad, you were rapping on LinkedIn, and I was like, what? Who is this guy? It was great.
There aren't many people that you see rapping on LinkedIn.
That's it.
And so it takes a lot of confidence and courage to do something different when a lot of people are very much doing the same thing. And I was fortunate enough to have quite a few posts at the early stages go viral. And from there, I just started to build up quite a bit of momentum. And the more momentum I built, the more confidence I would receive. And now I am comfortable and confident to put out whatever piece of content I want. So I am absolutely vulnerable and open when it comes to whatever content I put out. And I believe people resonate with me.
Yeah, I think, your story is so relatable to a lot of people that have gotten started on the platform, including myself as well. I think it's a really important point that you raised, that when it comes to comparison, like, please don't compare yourself to people that have been doing this for a little while, because we both know it doesn't start out that way. Lots of learnings, there's lots of mistakes, there's lots of little failures along the way. And I can totally relate to your first video experience as well. I mean, for me, I don't know why, but for some reason I thought it would be a good idea to do my first video in public. So I remember I was coming out of a client meeting in Barangaroo in Sydney, and I thought, I'll just do a quick video. And I put the camera up in front of me, and then I started to freak out because I could see other people around me looking at me, and I was like, why did I even do this to myself?
You could have started off a little bit smaller.
Exactly.
I was just focusing on stupid things. I didn't realize how nervous I would be initially. So, I mean, I would record a video, watch it back, and be focusing on how big my nose was, or the fact that I had a ridiculous sized chin, or the fact my forehead was too shiny. You think of the most random things. And
totally.
I kept recording and re-recording, and I came to a realization that done is better than perfect. And so I put it out being probably maybe 70, 80% happy with it. It's never going to be perfect. And the other thing is, no one cares what you look like, what you sound like, how you're dressed. What they do care about is how you deliver that message. And if you have a message to deliver, you will engage people.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant point. And we've got Mark that's joined us as well. Mark does some great videos on LinkedIn as well that I've seen. Welcome, Mark. Great to have you here as well. And I think, if I think back to some of the events that we ran as well, one of the things that used to come up a lot was the fact that you just touched on it there. People are worried about what other people are going to think of them when they first start to put out content. It is that confidence thing. It is sort of dropping the opinions of others and just going with your heart sometimes to think about, well, what is going to really add value to my audience and to show up. And I remember at one of these events, you shared around trolls and what a troll is on social media, because I think one of the big fears for a lot of people is that if they put something out there, someone is going to write a bunch of negative comments, or, they're going to have all these things said about them. And I really love the way that you explained it. So can you tell us a little bit more around like how you would describe what we call trolls on social media, and what are some things that I think are helpful for people if they do come across that situation where they're being trolled online?
Good old trolls.
Yeah.
Gotta love the trolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, I would describe trolling as a culture. And it's a culture that revolves around people going out of their way to either belittle or ridicule, essentially just try to put you down more or less publicly. And usually it's done for a bit of shits and giggles, if I can use that word. So it's become a bit of a culture, and you've seen it on YouTube, you've seen it on Instagram, and they usually do it in groups. It's starting to rear its head on LinkedIn quite often, especially with people that are putting themselves out there. Trolling is going to happen regardless, and it happens even more so when you actually have an opinion one way or the other. My suggestion is, if people are going to leave a negative comment or a comment that doesn't make you feel so good, at least make sure that you're receiving a negative comment or you're being trolled for being yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because one thing that happens when people have a fear of being judged is that they tend to put on a mask, and they tend to play some sort of role or some sort of character and be this incredibly professional person and just put on this random persona. And it happens all too often, where if you actually remove that mask and you peel back a few layers and you show people the true you, you do actually get trolled less. But even if you do get trolled, at least you're being trolled for being yourself. So look, whenever I get trolled, and I do get trolled, especially when I put out a piece of content that is opinionated, or a piece of content that goes well in terms of engagement, there are some people that just would love and are ready to burst your bubble. It's almost like they're waiting behind the keyboard, and they know exactly what they're going to say to try to discourage you. You can approach it in one of many ways. So I mean, if it's something that is incredibly offensive, if it's offensive to me or offensive to my community or audience, I've got no hesitation in going to that person's profile and blocking them so they have no ability to do that again. If it's someone that is just providing a different opinion, I'm more than happy with that. And that's what social media is all about. You present an idea or a concept or a topic, and people provide their opinion on it. So if it's just someone that disagrees with me, I'm cool with that. And I love the fact that people can provide their perspective on my post and at least establish some sort of conversation. So I will simply say thank you. I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your opinion. So before you make any big or drastic decisions, just make sure that you can differentiate between a troll and someone that just has a different opinion. But look, if it is someone that is technically a troll and they are being very belittling and negative and saying something quite possibly offensive, I don't hesitate to block those people, and I move on with my own life.
Yeah, I'm of the same camp to you as well. And I'd love to hear from people that are listening to this. How do you deal with trolls? And have you come across some trolls here on LinkedIn? Is your approach to block? What do you do? Love to hear from you guys. But I think, to your point there, Ahmad, as well, like the difference is that, generating discussion, generating engagement, like that's what we're here for. That's great, because I think if we were all human beings that thought the same way and it would just be boring, right?
It would be so boring. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's a really, really good distinction to make as well. And when it comes to, I guess, other people, if you're thinking about other people that are just getting started in their content journey or getting started on LinkedIn, sometimes it's hard to see some of the opportunities past the fear. And so I think for some people, when they can actually see what's ahead, there's always that little bit of, feeling uncomfortable in the beginning till you get into a bit of a flow. But I'd love to hear from you around, like, what are some of the unexpected opportunities that, have come out of being out there and being able to put yourself out there on a platform like LinkedIn, for instance?
Look, just like I said, LinkedIn has quite literally been life-changing for me. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it's real.
Yeah.
So when I started on LinkedIn 2.5 years ago, I was I'm not going to say just, but I was a real estate agent in Sydney. I was the director of a property consultancy, and everything that I was talking about in my content was more or less real estate or sales. But I had a serious passion for talking about personal development and self-improvement, and it's just something that I love talking about and was into. I mean, I have read every single self-help book known to mankind. I got my start with Tony Robbins, and I've been addicted since. But I mean, for me, LinkedIn and doing well on LinkedIn has allowed me to actually make a career transition and to focus on something that I'm just seriously passionate about, being self-improvement. So a lot of people that know my story know that I talk about the fact I was a seriously shy and awkward kid. I had zero confidence. I had self-esteem that was non-existent. And I was introduced to Tony Robbins at a very young age. Someone actually gave me a 24-disc CD set, and it changed everything for me. It gave me the confidence to really challenge some of my fears and my self-limiting beliefs. And so fast forward, let's say 15 years to more or less where I am now. And I'm now in a position where, because of LinkedIn, because of my visibility and the opportunities that were presented to me, I'm now the presenter and host and creator for a company that partners directly with Tony Robbins. It's literally like I've gone full circle. The person that I started my journey with, I now partner with and get to talk about and promote. Just one opportunity. The other opportunities are plentiful. Speaking arrangements, collaborations with some incredibly talented people, professionals, influencers, celebrities. I've been offered ambassadorships, sponsorships. I have been able to start my own consulting business, and it's now performing incredibly well and focusing on a very, very niche demographic. So you can do everything from start a business, generate leads for that business, put yourself out there and gain visibility for your business or to build your brand. You can build a personal brand or a business brand from scratch, and most often for free.
I know. It's such an incredible platform. And I think you've touched on some different areas there that I think is super important, because some people might not even have them on their radar. Like, I think for so long, LinkedIn was seen as such a traditional sort of job platform. And so, way back when I started on LinkedIn 10 years ago as an executive recruiter. And so I was behind the scenes on LinkedIn, and that was my experience of LinkedIn, was as a jobs platform. And I think for a lot of people, sometimes they still have that in their mindset, but it is so much more than that. And you've just touched on so many different areas in business and your career, and speaking arrangements and everything that you can use from building your network and new connections on the platform. So I think that's incredible.
It's limitless. And look, you can make LinkedIn whatever you want to make it. If you dedicate some time and you're strategic and deliberate with it, you'll have so many opportunities and targeted opportunities come your way. So, I mean, I'm super passionate about it because I've lived it. So anyone that is hesitant about what opportunities might come their way, I'm more than happy to have that conversation with them and just tell them to get started.
Absolutely. Mark's just asked a quick question that will take us off gear a little bit, but I'm happy to answer it, Mark. What's your view on Clubhouse? Where is it here to stay? Flash in the point, or here to stay, Mark says.
What was that, sorry?
Mark says, is it here to stay, Clubhouse?
Yeah, look, I'm in two minds about Clubhouse. I mean, I invested quite a lot of time when it first came out.
Mm,
And I invested a lot of time joining rooms and influential rooms and building
yeah.
relationships and starting rooms. And I mean, I dedicated probably about 8 to 10 hours per week
Yeah.
to Clubhouse. And that's a combination of starting rooms,
Mm,
moderating rooms, and just being involved in rooms.
yeah.
And initially, I was super excited at this new medium, which was
Mm,
almost like a live podcast scenario. And being someone that's in the events industry, almost like a
yeah.
virtual event. You can set up a
Totally.
virtual event from scratch at
Yeah.
zero cost and have people come up on your stage and share their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have recently, I've recently been turned off Clubhouse, to be quite honest. And for me, it's a question about the time commitment versus the return on the investment. And
Mm,
if it's the right medium for me and for what I want to do, I can
yeah.
invest more time into creating some disruptive and innovative content and
Mm,
get more than enough opportunities and results from that. I've also heard that LinkedIn is creating a similar platform to
yeah.
Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I've already done my hard yards on LinkedIn. So,
Yeah.
so
I,
if I can,
I think I'm with you, Ahmed. I think I'm going to stick to the ugly duckling. I like LinkedIn.
well, then, if you've already done a hard yards on LinkedIn and you've built up your
Yeah.
audience, then why not take advantage and work on that? So
Yeah.
look, I haven't given up on Clubhouse just yet.
Mm.
However, I'm not as excited as I was when I first started on Clubhouse.
Yeah, yeah. And let us know in the comments too if you're on Clubhouse, if you're using Clubhouse, what you think of it as well. I think it's always good to, test and measure. Like that's what we do in marketing all the time is testing and measuring what works, what doesn't work, where your focus and like you said, that return on your time investment, where that needs to be and what's going to bring the best results in your business and your career as well. So I think that's a really good point that you shared there, Ahmed. And, mindful of time, like we like to keep these short and action packed. So when it comes to influence in 2021, what does that mean for you? How can people, be more influential in their businesses, their careers, their lives in 2021?
Influence and the word influencer now gets a really bad rap. And I wish that it didn't.
Yeah,
It's almost like the term entrepreneur. The term
yeah,
entrepreneur used to mean something, you know,
yeah, yeah.
and when you think about
Very
people like
romanticized now.
it is. I mean,
Mm,
you think about the people like the Gary Vaynerchuks and the Richard Bransons and
yeah.
the Jeff Bezoses, entrepreneurs. It
Mhm.
means something right now because people have the ability to write anything they want in their headline. Um,
Yeah,
we're seeing people just use the term willy nilly.
yeah,
And I feel the same thing about influencer. The term influencer used to mean something. You think about Martin Luther King, you think about
mm,
John F. Kennedy, you think about Tony Robbins, you think about Oprah Winfrey. These are
yeah.
people that had the ability to influence.
Mhm.
And influence just means having the ability to lift people up to your perspective,
Yeah,
whatever perspective that is. And we are now able to do that via social media. Believe me,
mhm.
it's much, much easier to do it now than it used to be. If you're speaking about someone like Tony Robbins, he built influence back in the day by seriously doing the hard yards. Like, I mean, he would have
Absolutely.
to organize hundreds of seminars. He was
Yeah.
putting out CDs, which then became DVDs. He was doing
Mhm.
commercials. I mean, this is all before
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
So we have the ability to build influence on social media right now in a much, much easier way. But
Yeah.
it's a lot easier and a lot more effective when done correctly.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
So, and if we take LinkedIn, for example,
Yeah.
I speak about this with my clients often because I mean, if you were to just jump on LinkedIn today, you'd see a
Mhm.
lot of people putting out, let's say, recycled YouTube videos, or
Yeah.
just taking screenshots of viral tweets and posting that,
Mhm.
or putting out polls that ask you what your favorite day of the week is. You know, all of those.
Friday.
I don't mind Monday actually.
Yeah,
Um,
any day's pretty good.
all of those things, yes, get a huge amount of engagement, and someone starting might be seriously impressed. But the reality is that you have to ask yourself: are they building influence? As
Yeah.
in, are they building real influence? Have they built
Mhm.
a brand? Do
Mhm.
people actually know them? If they were actually to try and sell a course, would people even attend the course? So I mean, I focus on building real influence with my clients, and a lot of that is built on a foundation of trust and visibility. Trust is huge, and the only way to build trust is by showing up frequently and giving out a huge amount of free value, and also having some sort of opinion. If you want to influence, you can't exactly sit on the fence. You have to have an opinion one way or the other, because the idea is that you're going to attract people that believe what you believe. And that is how you build a seriously strong community, and that is how you have influence over that community. The other thing I'm seeing is that people are monetizing way too quickly. I'm seeing people that start on LinkedIn, grow a following of maybe a few thousand, and before you know it, they're selling courses, they're selling books, they're selling this, they're selling that, and they haven't even built that trust yet. So they're monetizing way, way too quickly. You have to invest the time into building your brand, building that trust, and building a loyal community. And once you build that loyal community, then and only then can you either develop a product or a service that is perfectly aligned to some of their pain points, or you can start selling your existing products and services knowing that you built that trust. And so if you take the time to invest in building trust first and build a loyal community who have built that trust because you've done nothing but put out free value after free value after free value, you will have influence over that community.
And I think it touches on the point that you spoke about at the beginning of this conversation around, you know, removing that mask and being really authentic as well, whatever that means for you. Because when you're playing the long game, when it comes to building brand, building trust, there's nothing worse than showing up one way and not being able to sustain that because it's actually not who you really are. And people see through that now these days as well. Like, it's very, very easy to spot when you see people popping up in all different directions. It's very, very easy to spot these days. So I think you raised some really valid points around, you know, building that trust, being visible with your market as well, and providing a ton of value. I think it's really, really important.
I didn't actually start monetizing on LinkedIn for about a year and a half. So I mean, I spent somewhere between a year and a half to 2 years just building my community, and I'm now very much monetizing in many different ways, and there's many different revenue streams that you can generate from LinkedIn. But I mean, I put that time in first. And I mean, that's what I'd love to see a lot more people doing before, you know, throwing out a webinar with the, you know, following of 1,000 people and destroying that trust before it's even built.
Yeah, I think this has been a hugely valuable conversation. We've touched on influence, we've touched on trolls, we've touched on LinkedIn, getting started, confidence, you know, our awkward moments from sending out those first videos on LinkedIn as well. And I think it's brilliant, and it's been awesome to be able to tap into your wisdom, your brain today, to share a lot of your learnings and experiences as well. And I would absolutely love to hear from everyone that is joining us live or catching the replay. What has been your biggest takeaway from today's conversation? We would absolutely love to hear from you. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined us as well. Ahmad, for people that are wanting to connect with you and learn more about you, where can they head?
You can find me on LinkedIn, of course, Instagram, Facebook, and yes, Clubhouse. And it's all at the same handle, and that's at the Ahmad Imam. That's at the Ahmad Imam. Send me a message. I'm not one of those people that thinks I'm too big to respond. So send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to have a chat to you. And yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah. It's like, I'll get my people to call your people.
Yeah. I'll be the person that's responding personally. So I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you once again. Thank you everyone for joining us for another episode of Person Behind the Profile. I really look forward to having my next special guest on next week. So make sure to look out for that. Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And that's it from us. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.